Yes. Hi everyone, and welcome to Peabolic Notes. My name is Michael Kirkjian, and welcome to my channel. Today is Sunday, April the 3rd, 2022, and what we looking at today is again assessing the situation a bit with what's going on with Bitcoin in the cryptocurrency space. And I'd like to also share with you when I'm looking at the charts as far as the interest rates, because this I think is kind of an interesting period, because what's going on with the interest rates may have an impact on the cryptocurrency space. So regardless of what Bitcoin is doing right now, with it being in bullish market territory, as far as Bitcoin being above the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA, I'm very curious to know if what's going on kind of in the interest rate world is also going to have an impact on us. So before I do anything else, I'd like to please disclose this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing with you my information that I know about this space. Do your own research, and whatever I'm telling you here, have it double checked with your financial advisors. So let's get started with me sharing my screen with you, so that way I can share with you the screen. So this is the 10-year Treasury U.S. government interest rates, and I've gone back up to 1980 here. And the reason why I've done this is because I learned this from Raoul Pal, who's an excellent macro investor. And what Raoul Pal had said was that whenever the 10 and 2-year interest rate had inverted, meaning that if the 2 years interest rate for versus the 10 years, if this was negative, meaning that all of a sudden the short-term interest rate was higher than the long-term interest rate, and at the same time, if we hit the top line of the chart of truth since 1999, so he calls it the chart of truth, meaning that each time that we came around, let's say this territory here, where we hit the upper band of this trend line, then within the next 6 to 18 months, a recession followed. And it looks like the yield curve, which is basically the 10-year and the 2-year spread, if this is negative, meaning that if the short-term interest rates are higher than long-term interest rates, it looks like this goes back to the Second World War. Since that date forward, it's been really almost a guaranteed recession for the next 6 to 18 months. So that being said, I'll put all this aside for now, and I'll just come back to my Bitcoin chart. Now, this is kind of a new territory, meaning that even though over here it looks like we're going to be in bull market territory, where what's going on with Bitcoin is that it's right now it's above the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA. But does that mean that is this going to carry weight? Is this going to be effective? Is this going to be something that's going to basically sustain and hold? So that is to follow. So for now, we're assuming it will, and I'm assuming that this is still a bullish market for Bitcoin, meaning that I will look at now the altcoins and see what do we expect the altcoins to do. So if you look at one of the altcoins I'm going to look at right now, it's going to be obviously Ethereum. And if you look at what Ethereum is doing versus Bitcoin, so it looks like, see, it's been all of a sudden it's very bullish, right? So all of a sudden, Ethereum versus Bitcoin since March the 7th, it basically is on an uptick. So it looks like so right over here we're seeing that it's gone these 3 candles, meaning like on a weekly, it's done very well versus Bitcoin since March the 7th. And if I look at this actual Ethereum chart, I will load a new chart right over here. So if I look at this Ethereum chart, which is Ethereum in US dollar, and if I go back to March the 7th, so you see at March the 7th, Ethereum was around $2,500, and since then it's gone up $1,000 approximately. So now it's obviously very accurate. So it's done very well in last let's say month, and that's why we looked at this chart, which was looking at Ethereum versus Bitcoin. It also was very bullish. So this one is a check. So Ethereum definitely is doing well. since Bitcoin is in this bull market territory. Another coin I'm going to look at right now is going to be Solana. So Solana is again another layer one. It's the reason why I like looking at Solana, Ethereum, are because these are very important tokens in this space because they're both very strong layer one protocols. They're both very strong with the NFT space, and they definitely are serious tokens as far as the cryptocurrencies are concerned. And if I look at Solana versus let's say Bitcoin, I'm going back to March the 7th. So again, yes, so it looks like Solana as well. Since February, it's done very well versus Bitcoin. So, and if I look at the actual Solana chart on the weekly, on against the US dollar chart, so it looks like yes. So since March the 7th, Solana used to be at around 77, 78 bucks. Now it's almost doubled. Really, look at this. And last over here was around 77, 78 bucks, and now we're hovering at $135. So this definitely is a check. So Solana as well is doing very well versus Bitcoin, and also doing very well as a token. Sorry about that. I had to put off my buzzing phone. The next token I'm going to look at, I will look at right now another layer one token, which is going to be Luna. Luna is very interesting because Luna is one of those tokens that doesn't need Bitcoin. It seems like, so look, it is in all-time highs right now. If you look at what Luna's doing, wow, this is phenomenal. So Luna right now is at $112 US, and if I go on Masari, which is a research tool, and if I look at what Luna's been doing as all-time highs and so forth, it definitely looks like if we look at where it's at all-time high, it was at $118. So, and the all-time high date was actually today, on April 3rd, 2022. So if you look at what Luna's doing today, it looks like it's doing very well, and obviously it's doing phenomenal. So Luna is definitely a check, and we'll keep that as is. I will look at another token, which is going to be Algorand. Algorand is also a very important token. It's an interesting token, and because Algorand has I will share with you what I like about Algorand. Algorand is one of those tokens that if I look into the block, which is it's an excellent tool for looking at what's going on with the on the actual on-chain analysis. And if I look at Algorand, as far as its analytics is concerned, it's one where on the ownership side, it's got, if you look at how it's being held as a token, so the way this website or this on-chain analysis tool does is that it calls an address that owns between 0.1% and 1% of the circulating supply is retail. An address that owns, an address that owns more than 1% of the circulating supply is called a whale. An address that owns between 0.1% and 1% of the circulating supply is called an investor. And the retail are those addresses that have less than 0.1% of the circulating supply. So if you look at this, we notice that the investor volume, which is the blue, the investors are really 60% of the Algorand tokens. So that's very, very interesting, meaning that there are some very heavy hands that are holding this token. So that's why I pay a lot of attention to Algorand, meaning that these are not just retail owners and so forth. These guys are basically serious investors, where 60% of the holders are basically holding 0.1% to 1% of the total supply. So if I look at Algorand, as far as the US dollar is concerned, it looks like it's kind of still bearish. It may be changing because it looks like it's about to cross the 100 week moving average. And if I look at what Algorand is doing versus the Ethereum, So Algorand versus Ethereum is kind of bearish. So that's why this is not a token that personally I would want to put any more funds in. So it looks like it's so-so versus Ethereum. And if I look at the chart of Algorand versus Bitcoin, also, so it looks like also it's been bearish. So since September of last year, it's lost a lot of value versus Bitcoin, meaning that it hasn't done what it's supposed to do. So Algorand I would put as personally, I would not add more funds into it. I actually own this token. I would keep it as is. I will not add to it, and I wouldn't sell it, because if I did, I'd be taking a loss. And if I add more to it now at this stage, I'm a little concerned that it looks like it's kind of right now at it's kind of at this very important point where it's hitting right now. It's this very important support line. And if it breaks below it, then it's obviously a very bearish signal. If it pumps from here and goes upwards, then that could be a good signal. But for now, I would not touch this. I would just keep it as is. Another layer one protocol is Polkadot. Polkadot is one of those tokens where it's used a lot in staking. It's used a lot in the Polkadot parachains. And if I look at what it's done, Polkadot against the US dollar, it looks like it hasn't been that great really since November of last year. So November used to be at $50, above $50. Now it's on $20. So this has been a pretty massive loss of value, or I should say loss of market capitalization. And if I look at what it's doing as far as Polkadot versus Bitcoin, just to see how it's behaved versus Bitcoin. So it looks like Polkadot has lost a lot of value versus Bitcoin since really last November also. So last November to now, it's kind of been bearish, even though it looks like it's doing better since February of this year. And if I look at how Polkadot is behaving versus Bitcoin or versus Ethereum as of on weekly charts, so it looks like versus Ethereum, Polkadot is really, let's say, oscillating. So it looks like you're losing value since January, and then February came here, and since February it's kind of going up and down against Ethereum. So basically, Polkadot as layer one protocol, I would just keep it as is. I mean, it may be consolidating. If I look at the chart here, it looks like it may be consolidating here. So this could be, if it consolidates more, then it would be a very powerful signal, especially if volume also falls at the bottom. And I want to make sure I'm looking at the right chart. I'll look at Polkadot against the US dollar on Coinbase, for example. So you see, yeah, so I'm looking at this here, and what I want to see is if there's going to be a massive move upwards after consolidation, then I would want to see the volume be kind of like this, where all of a sudden that was a very, very important signal of volume pushing it upwards. So for now, I'm not seeing that. So it looks like the volume has kind of been okay, but it has been at the same levels as over here. So that's why I'm just going to pay attention to Polkadot, see how it goes over the next little while. And the last token I'm going to look at right now from the layer ones is going to be Avalanche. Avalanche, again, is a very important layer one protocol. It looks like, again, if I look at what it's doing, so it looks like December of last year, it was up to $115. Then it took a bit of a dive and it went down almost by half. It was around the $65 range over here in January. And since then, it's now trading around $97. So it's close to hitting $100 again. And if I look at what AVAX has done versus Bitcoin against Ethereum, so versus Bitcoin, it's actually doing well. I mean, it's been oscillating since January. So it's right over here. It's going up and down, oscillating versus Bitcoin. And if I look at what AVAX has done versus Ethereum, it looks like versus Ethereum, right over here, yes, it's been actually oscillating for a very long period. So basically, AVAX against Ethereum has been oscillating really since December. So it looks like it went down, it went up, it went down, and now kind of it's hovering in the same area. So AVAX as a layer one protocol is doing okay. It's one of those tokens that I also hold as well, and I'm going to be not adding to it for the time being. I'll just keep it and see how it goes. Although I do like seeing a chart like this when a token is oscillating against the Ethereum. To me, that's a good sign, because obviously Ethereum is Ethereum, and it's the blue chip that's in the space. So I'm going to be keeping a close eye on all this space over the next little while, of course. And again, the key chart is always this one for me. I learned this from Ben Cohen, which is the Bitcoin weekly chart, which really, when Bitcoin is above this 20-week SMA and 21-week EMA, is when we see the altcoins performing well when Bitcoin is in this territory. So let's keep an eye on this, and I will update to this channel over the next couple of days if there's any changes here. Thank you so much for watching, everyone.